My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing, land of the pilgrim's pride, land of the mountainside. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing, land of the pilgrim's pride, land where my fathers died. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Yes, let freedom ring from every mountainside. America, land of the free, home of the brave, land that God has blessed, a nation born of God on the principles of spiritual liberty and freedom from evil and tyranny. America, may you ever be the land of the free. You see, I grew up in an era where we were taught the pride and dignity and the hope of American freedom, that it truly was a land of liberty for all and justice for all. That Pledge of Allegiance that I quoted when I went to school every day, even though there was racism prevalent in the land, I knew that America was my country. Even more my country, I would think, than other persons and peoples, because my ancestors served this country in slavery, in free labor, and death. They gave it all for this country in the hope of future freedom and liberty. They knew that one day they would have a portion of this freedom and this liberty that was written down in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights. They knew that one day they would have theirs. And it is that document that makes America a great nation. And we have to fight for freedom and fight for liberty. And truly, there must be shed blood. And the slaves knew that as well. And they knew the dignity that would come with being an educated, free people. And they strove for that right. And generations moved on. And new gains were made through blood. Through the blood that was shed in Civil War battlefields. Through the blood that was shed in World War I battlefields. And yes, even through the blood that was shed in the country that they loved. America. America, a nation born of blood. Yes, because for freedom, blood must be shed. Even the Christian Bible teaches that without the shedding of blood, there would be no remission of sins. And yet freedom was attained. My America, land of the free and home of the brave, will always be my country. Yes, this is my country. I knew that as a child, growing up in a Jim Crow era, growing up in racism in Chicago, divided, segregated neighborhoods. And I began to watch and observe. And I began to understand as I grew older, the political power structures that sought to take freedom away and again enslave, particularly Black Americans, through the handout, through the dole, through dependency on government. I grew up in the 60s and was idealistic, of course, and also thought of the democratic principles and why can't we all have free stuff? Why can't we all just be given finances and free stuff without working and laboring for it? But then I began to understand what they did to our people, our communities through the welfare system in democratically controlled Chicago. I watched the birth and growth of slums through Lyndon Johnson's New Deal, Yes, there were slums before, but people were working and breaking out of those slums, every ethnic group. But then they came with a new deal and created permanent slums that kept black people in those slums. Oh, Cabrini Green, Ida B. Mill, Whale Wells Homes, and many others. But anyway, I saw it was a democratic construct to keep the people all huddled together for a political purpose. And then I watched the civil rights movement unfold with Martin Luther King and his I Have a Dream and the fight for integration, not segregation. And then I see now in this modern day era, there's a self-imposed segregation. And when integration would really set the people free and make America the great melting pot nation that it was said to be and is in some ways. But there is a self-imposed segregation now that causes great destruction and harm to millions and millions of people. And we must break out of that. But that self-imposed segregation and strictly really imposed is for political power and political purpose to keep urban areas, which I call urban plantations, segregated and under democratic control. There is a remedy for that. But black people, you must be willing to move out. Martin Luther King wanted us to be integrated. Integration was the great push and theme of the civil rights movement. And today I live in a predominantly, I guess you would say, Caucasian neighborhood. But you see, people are my people. These are my fellow Americans. And if they don't have the ideal of what America is, then I feel sorry for them. You see, to be an American, you must embrace the ideals of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And if you don't embrace that, then you're not really an American. You're living in the country. Sure, you have citizenship. But to fully be an American, then you must understand the American ideal and embrace that ideal in your heart and in your mind as your creed. Freedom and liberty and justice for all. Yes, it's a creed, but until you embrace that creed, which is America's birthright, then you're not really an American. You're not really a Christian if you walk around saying I'm a Christian, but you don't believe in the Christian Bible. If you're a member of a certain faith, are you a Catholic? If you don't embrace the Catholic catechism, you may attend their worship services and participate in what they're doing, but if you don't embrace the ideal of who they say they are and their identity, then you're really not that. You're just a poser and an imposter. So are you a poser American? Are you an imposter American? But I say that we are Americans. So rise up to the ideal of our forefathers and what they declared and decreed in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights, and truly embrace being an American. Our country is under assault today. Freedom is being taken away, and is largely being taken away by policies, I am so sorry to say, of the Democrats. I used to be a Democrat, a Kennedy Democrat. He was a man who fought in World War II and loved America. But then after him, they became Democrats who loved their social agenda more than they loved their country. I had to part from them, particularly when they came up with the idea of welfare. What did Johnson call it? The war on poverty? It created more poverty, and it was a scheme. Even Johnson, now historians have quoted as saying when he signed that document for welfare and the war on poverty, that he would have these expletive deleted niggers, I guess it's not deleted, voting Democratic for the next 100 years. Oh my goodness. That platform has wreaked havoc upon the black community, the black family. So you got to awaken, come out of that. And then you had Democrats that followed Kennedy, which was Johnson, who was a Southern Dixiecrat. They found a new way to enslave the black community. And now in these modern times, you see it expanding now to an even larger degree to even the disenfranchised or Poor whites, they're creating dependency because dependency enslaves you. Democrats, I don't want to begin to ramble, but I must ramble because the Democrats, an abortion platform. I remember when we returned home from Vietnam, they called us baby killers. Even as they passed laws to have babies killed in the womb, people chanting baby killers to Vietnam veterans and fighting for a woman's right to kill a baby in the womb. Something's wrong with that. But America is a great nation, will always be a great nation, but its people must awaken from sleep, awaken from slumber, and come back to the ideal of America. Its history, the people that worked hard, cleared this land of this untamed land, and look what it is today, not because of government will, but by the will of individuals who are willing to roll up their sleeves and work for the ideal of America, working for the ideal of freedom and liberty. Even though they came in chains, they pushed from east to west, coast to coast, and from the north border to the southern border through hard labor. And if hard times befell them, sure, they would seek a handout.